A lot of people woke up this morning to the news of what happened at UNLV yesterday, a bit of a surprise. And to get some details and to talk through some of this and what it means, frequent guest on the show is Steve Hooper. In addition to his career of over 30 years with the FBI, he is now a professor at the College of Business, Security, and Intelligence at Embry-Riddle in Prescott. He joins us again. Steve, thanks for doing this.
Yep, I got you.
All right, thanks, Steve. Sorry, we had some technical issues.
Sure.
A couple of things that strike me in this. First of all, the suspect is 67 years old. Does it surprise you that it's someone that old? Is this rare that someone of this age does something like this?
It is. That's one of the things I was going to touch on. You know, we're used to it, especially when it comes to educational places, whether it's high schools, grammar schools, or colleges. Usually it's a student or it's someone who has an affiliation with the educational institution that it becomes the victim. And so 67 is rare, yes.
And you know, I'm sure they're going to, and I'm going to ask you to kind of go through some of this of what they're doing. They're going to comb through his personal life to try to find a reason why this happened. But before we get to that, the other thing that struck me was that it was 40 minutes from the 911 call until they gave the all clear. That seems like a very long time for an active shooter situation. Is that a long time, 40 minutes?
Well, it all depends on that's about process, right? So every school has a plan, an emergency operations plan, and they are required, as they should, is to go through a protocol. So 40 minutes might be how long it takes for them to go through the steps of their all clear after action protocol. So if they have a violent act, they go into lockdown, everyone's to stay in place until they do specific clears, clearing the area, determining there's not a second, even if it appears at the front end, even if the shooter's killed and it appears there's no one else involved, they need to go through their steps in their process. As long as you keep going through the same protocol every time, it becomes muscle memory. So that doesn't surprise me too much if they were doing their standard operating procedure for a violent act protocol.
So the 40-minute time frame is not necessarily how long it took to kind of neutralize the threat. It could have been the process afterward to make sure everything was safe.
Yeah, that's what I would bet on.
So let's talk about what's going to happen, because you and I have talked about this frequently on the air about owning the threat and seeing things ahead of time. Do you suspect that now as they look into this person that there's going to be signs about this was happening? It rarely is this ever something where all of a sudden they just snap and it happens, correct?
Right, and that's exactly what I was going to talk about. And this will appear to be someone who just snapped because he didn't get a job he applied for. But there certainly were indicators, and we generally describe it as a slow boil. And over the last 4 or 5 months, if you look at his social media, and I did, and there were things that he appeared to be bothered by. He doesn't appear that he was getting the recognition. Some of his comments, he wasn't getting the recognition he thought he deserved, how successful he was, his education. He touts his double undergraduate degree, his master's degree, his doctorate. He touts how impressive he is, and probably couldn't even fathom why someone would not hire him. It'll be interesting if they go back to his previous universities where he taught. He most recently taught at East Carolina. I'm sure they're going to do some checking back at the previous colleges and universities and find out why he was no longer with them. He seemed to be enamored with Vegas, so it may have been just wanting to wind down his career in Vegas because he was so he made many trips and loved Vegas. So it could have been a personal choice, but at the same time, it would be interesting to know why he left his previous university. Were there indicators then? And lastly, the people who were closest to him, it appeared he lived by himself in an apartment, and sometimes that can impact people as they get older and they wind down their career and feel like there's nothing in front of them. And so it'll be interesting if he has personal contacts, friends, family, and what they are going to say about his recent actions and maybe personality changes.
Steve Hooper is joining us. He is a professor at the College of Business Security and Intelligence at Embry-Riddle in Prescott. So my last question then is the significance of the victims, because what we're hearing is he targeted faculty. Does that go back to what you were just saying? He felt like he wasn't getting the recognition. Is that kind of what it leans toward? And will that be a direction they're looking for, is the fact that he chose these victims the way he did?
Yeah. We always expect that the students are going to be the victims, and the fact that they were faculty members, again, his perception of himself, again, based on comments on social media, he was very impressed with his own record, and probably at some point couldn't understand why a university wouldn't hire a man of his educational background, and decided to take it out on other faculty members who maybe he, in his mind, felt weren't of his caliber, yet they had the job there. That's just speculation, but yeah, it is unusual that that the fact that he was targeting faculty would indicate that was a targeted attack, that he went in there looking for faculty.
So one quick follow-up, it made me think of something else. I know that often when these real-life situations happen, you apply them in your classroom to the students at your school. But now we're talking about faculty members being targeted. Will this be something that the college addresses with their emergency plan? And is it something you think about now as a faculty member at a college?
Well, I as you know me, I always think about this stuff. So, and yes, I do always talk about it in class. This will be a case study in my emergency preparedness class in the spring. At our college, at our university up in Prescott, we have a on-campus police department, and they focus on things like that. What it does is it does highlight the fact that it's not just about students being targets, but faculty members have to beware too.
Steve, I always appreciate the insight. I appreciate the short notice as always, and I look forward to talking to you soon.
All right. Talk soon, Mike.
All right. Thanks. That's Steve Hooper joining us.
Thanks for watching the Mike Broomhead Show. Tap to watch the first season of Amazing Arizonans, a KTAR News podcast. You can also click the button in the middle to subscribe.